Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm not sure this is working correctly, but we will see. I just got a notification that YouTube had stopped my stream. So, Jenny, can you check to see if I'm streaming somewhere else? Okay. All right. I'm going to stop. Well, do I stop or not? Refresh. Waiting on me, it still says. All right, I'm stopping this. That I'm on Facebook? Yes. Okay, guys, can you? Okay. Guys, I'm still looking at my controls if you're on. Let me know if you see me live. It says YouTube is stopped me. Try again later. What are the terms? I don't have time to read all this. Yes, I am on Facebook, but I'm not on YouTube. Yeah, I refreshed YouTube and it says paid. I don't understand. Try again later, it says. YouTube stopped me. I don't know why. So if you can put a comment in YouTube, um, or do you want me to comment in YouTube? Jenny is in the background. Um, I'm just going to type in YouTube real quick. YouTube has blocked me for some reason. Maybe it'll make it to us on the other side. Oh, the snow. Okay, I know what he's saying. All right. So, yes. Okay, I see it. It looks a little. Okay. All right, guys. Good evening. Um, we're not broadcasting evidently to YouTube. It says that they've stopped my broadcast for some reason. So I will have to investigate that later. So, anyway, good evening. I'm Paula McCoy, owner of Colors for Earth. And tonight we're going to talk about how to do some shading, blending with your glass enamels on fused glass. Okay. So I am going to get right to it. And let me show you a couple of pictures here. Let's see if I can get both of these. So this is before some shading has been done, and then this one is after the shading has been done. Okay, I did one of these a couple of years ago. Actually, it's on the same project, although this is another set of the patterns that I'm working on. So I just wanted you to see those. So before, after shading, okay, and I think I have one that is, I'll show you the fired one. I'm just going to switch cameras, okay? So hold on. Still nothing on YouTube, Jenny, right? Okay. All right. So I am going to hide my lights. Okay. So hopefully you can still hear me. If you have bought any of our enamels, our glass enamels, which come in a dry powdered form, or the concentrates, which is a liquid to use on glass, we have a private Facebook group, and then all the orders that go out, I put a little flyer in there that you need to ask to join our CFE for Colors for Earth Glass Color Artist page. You have to answer the questions. If you don't answer the questions, then um, you're not going to be allowed into the group. And you have to have purchased the color to get into the group. So, Jenny, is it still live on Facebook? Mine shows it being frozen on my end. Okay. My B Live one is frozen. Hmm. Okay. Because what I'm seeing on Facebook is I'm frozen with a background on me. Hi, Henrietta. Hey, seems live to me. Okay, Jameson, thank you. Um, Still trying to double check. Okay, I see it now. Great. All right, so what I was saying is be sure and ask to join. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, be sure and subscribe. Click the bell to get notifications and like and share on that. That does help us be able to do more for you. Okay. So this is a piece that I did a couple of years back. It's 3 layers of fused glass. It's done with the enamels and it's shaded on top with a couple of concentrates. Okay, so this is a piece of almond or ivory colored glass, which is a 3 millimeter, and then I have 2 sheets of clear that are 2 millimeters on top of that. So I'm able to layer. I think you can see that this blade of grass or stem goes behind, this one's on top. So there is 3 layers of painting there. Okay, so I'm going to just keep this one here, and then I'm going to bring into this one. So earlier, just a little bit ago, I started blocking in, let's switch that, and um, filling in these colors. Okay, so I've taken the regular G series enamels. They are a powder. Okay, and what I'd like to do is I'm going to mix one up so that we go over the consistency just to make sure that everybody is aware. This is lemon peel. Okay, we have tools, our little spatula tools, and just take a little bit out. Put your lids back on so you don't spill anything. And then with your GM 300 glass medium, you're going to liquefy that. So what I normally do is put, depending on how much powder, 5 to 6 drops in there, and then now use the tapered end, not the squared end, but the tapered end, and stir that up. So we're going over just some basics of the Colors for Earth enamels. These are little jars that we sell. They're little half-ounce jars. You could, Jenny, could you message Teresa Berger that we're on Facebook? Not, she's trying to call me. Thank you. She knows that I was going live, but she's still, because I talked to her just an hour ago. Okay, so what I've done is stir it up, wipe off my tool, and then if you had a large amount in here, you can do what we call the drip test. You put it in, pull it out really quick, and if it drips by the count of 3, 2, 3, 4, you're in the right range of consistency. Now, there's not very much in here, okay? Um, as soon as I try to change cameras, I know it'll mess up. So I'm just going to stick with this. So I'm going to go in real fast, pull it out. 1, 2, 3. So it dripped by 2. And that's what I'm looking for. Okay, sorry. She was still trying to call me. She's probably trying to get on. You might put another note on Facebook. Just post it on my page, Jenny, if you don't mind. So Jenny is in the background. You can't hear her on this one. We may have to go back to Zoom. I was just trying to broadcast to both, and evidently it doesn't like that. So there you go. I do have a light board underneath me. The light board, as you can see, will help to see if there's any cracks or openings or how the coverage is. Okay, so let me zoom in a little bit. So you can see that those look fairly opaque. You don't see a lot of translucency through it, and that's what you're looking for. Um, Let me grab another one here so you can see it. Move that one out of the way. Now, this one's going to be harder to see. Yes, it's definitely. Can you see the? I'm going to point with my brush here. Right here. I know that's hard to see. Here. I don't know that I can. That's going to glare. Right in this area, there is like a little trans where two of the petals meet. You see like a little bit of light coming through. Okay, that is an area that's thinner and it's not completely butted up to it. Okay, and I think you can see it even more with the light on there. Okay, so what it was doing is showing you that right in here where the two meet, it was a little bit thinner in that area. And there's no way to see that without a light board. Well, other than holding it up and looking underneath it, which you guys aren't going to be able to see that. Okay. So these have been shaded. These have not. They're just dry. Okay. So the first thing that I want to show you is how to blend the colors to get the shading as you're applying the enamels. Now, as you can see, I've like skipped a petal and went like every other petal. I'm going to move this one out of the way too. All right, so that I can get that into focus for you. And the colors that I used on this are grape. And we have these little labels that are in the file section of that private Facebook group that you can download and print off on the Avery half-inch round labels. Sorry, I just did that without showing. Purple sage, grape. This one is orchid bloom. And then I'm going to use tea rose as the colors I've chosen for this. So I like to turn them upside down, put my jar in that. That way I don't get the wrong lid on the wrong one and drop a crumb of a color that I don't want in there. Okay. All right. Hi there, guys. I will look at the. Jenny will tell me if there's any comments or any questions out there. I'm just kind of glancing up there. Okay, she says nothing so far. All right, so I have a bridge also. A bridge is something that you can put over the top so that you're not resting your arm on your glass. If you can do a wooden one, you can tape together stacks of glass and put another piece of glass on top. This happens to be one that we used to carry. It's not in stock at the moment. The other thing that you could do is lay a paper towel down as long as your product isn't wet, so that when you rest your wrist to guide yourself, you're not touching and giving a fingerprint of your wrist. Okay. A wrist print, I guess is what that would be called. Always have a paper towel. I do when I'm blending, and I'll show you my dirty one from earlier. So I've wiped off the tip of my brush, and you'll understand why as I do this. So I like to start from the background and come forward. I did leave a leaf, so I'm not going to do that petal there because we won't be able to do that leaf if we do that. So we're going to come over here and do this large one. So I like to have my colors in the order that I'm going to apply them so that I'm going from light to dark. That's my preference. That's how I do most of my ceramic and glass painting. Okay. This is just the, my writings completely wore off. The CFE class brush, the 455 dash, there's a 0, a 1, and I think a 10 on it. So depending on what size, I think this is the one that I have. So I'm going to pick up that color. So I literally picked up a big drop of it. Let me move just a little bit closer maybe so that you can see. Um, I was going to try to do the side camera, but I'm scared. I'm afraid I'll mess things up. So I think I'll just stick with this. So I'm going to flood it on. Do you see how much is on there? So I'm literally, whoops, you can't see that. Literally picking up like a scoop of it where it's got a drip on the end of it and going to my glass. Okay, so I'm just touching it, bringing it over, let it fall off, kind of pat it in place where I want it, and then I can move it around. If you start doing this, it gets really thin down here and your product will not be opaque. So pool and puddle, drop and fill is what we're looking for. Now I'm going to go to another, so I'm going to go over here to the pink jar, put those in screen, wipe off the excess, and pick up some of the orchid bloom. And I'm going to put it on there where I want it. And I can go back underneath here. So I place it first, and then we're going to shade with it. Okay, and I can pull some lines down. That's fine for the next color, but you need to blend what's there. Okay, so we need to pull it back and forth, and I'm just like skimming just the top of the surface. I'm not pressing down. I'm just touching the top surface to move the color back and forth to achieve another color that's a mix of the tea rose and the orchid bloom. So just shimmy it back and forth. Because if you push down, then you're going to open up to the glass. As long as it pushes back together or pulls back together, then it's the proper consistency. But if you don't have it to the right consistency, you can leave a gap there and then you won't have coverage. The other method to shading is you can take and tap where those colors meet and cause it to blend. You can pull lines one way, but when you do that, you need to wipe off on the paper towel. And if you're going to pull this direction, you would wipe off because whatever you touch down and pull, if you go back the other way, you're just going to cause one color to be more prominent than the other. So if I wanted pink lines, see how that opened up and now it closes? So it's the proper consistency. Does that show up on camera, Jenny? It's hard for me to do it and uh, double check the camera to make sure it's there. So shimmy back and forth. But if you want to cause more of these lines that you see over here, more like radiating lines from the center that would be um, like folds, then you would want to wipe off the brush, pull one direction, wipe it off. Because otherwise, if you pull the orchid bloom up and you go back down, your pink's going to end up down here, but you need to wipe it up because you've picked up that color. Now wipe it off before you do the next step. Hopefully that makes sense. And I'm not rinsing my brush between colors. There's hardly any product on my brush, so I'm not worried really about contamination. Okay. So I'm going to lay this color where I want it. And yes, that one is very dark compared to the others. So now you'll really be able to see this. So I'm going to just skim the surface, kind of blend it back and forth. And this is something that you just don't do it one time. I'm going to wipe off the excess. You got to take your time. You got to fiddle with it, putz around, and really take time to get it to look like how you want it. Okay, so here I want to bring a couple up. I may bring some of that down, wipe off my brush, grab some of that pink, pull down. So you have to take time. It's not something you're just going to get done like one time across and you're finished. You need to fuss around with it and piddle. This is your chance and get it to where you like it. Like I said, you can come back and you can tap on the ends, and I'm tapping in a random or in the area back and forth, not just one time across. Same thing. You've got to take time and blend that. And what you see is what you're going to get. Okay? So if it looks yucky or too many lines or something you don't like about it, the way it blended, that it's not going to change. They're going to kind of meld together a little bit, but the overall look of it is not going to change. If I think I need more of that pink back here, I grabbed more of the tea rose and see, I can come in here and pull that down, but I wiped my brush. So if I want more of that over here, I can set it right there on the top of the surface and watch this. See if I want to bring that all the way down. See that pink? But I would wipe it off because I had purple wherever I ended up. That's going to be on my brush. So if I go back to the pink, it's going to take that darker color back up there. So you need to wipe it off. And I think that's the hardest thing to get in the habit of doing. Now that's getting a little thin there, so I'm going to grab some pink and I don't, I think you can see that it's opaque when I turn on the light board, but I'm going to turn it off because you can't see the blending if I have that on there. Okay, so let me come down. I think I can come down some more. Whoops, that's a little close. Okay, so you can kind of see the different colors in there, hopefully. I have a piece of course, my pattern's under there. See the different colors? You can kind of see the transition from one color to the other. Okay. Okay. All right. So now I've still got an area down here that I need my darkest color. Always make sure you keep those stirred up because after they settle and you don't use them, the medium does start to separate and come to the top. And so you need to give it a quick little stir so that you're not just picking up just the medium. Okay. So I'm just skinnying that up that edge. And I'm going to fill in this little gap. So it's pretty solid before I start my shading. Now you could put olive, I'm going to wipe that off on the paper towel because I want less on my brush when I start to move and shimmy this back and forth. Any questions out there? Anybody got any questions on doing this? Or maybe you've tried it and you weren't successful. You changed to the laptop, Britt says, and now it's playing. Okay. Sorry, we were supposed to be on YouTube also, and it gave me an error. So it said try again later. So I'm like, okay, don't have time for that. How is the resolution in the picture? Everything good? It looks good on my end. Okay, I have new internet, so hopefully that's going to help things out. All right, so you can go back. See, I just grabbed some of the Orchid Bloom and I just went back in and I'm just, like I said, I'm just barely, let me get a darker color so you can see it. I'm just barely skimming on the surface, hardly even, do you see that? I'm hardly even touching completely. So you can flood in one color and add color on top of it before it dries. That is a possibility also. I'm going to go back and grab some of the Orchid Bloom and touch to that darker color there just so it's not like a straight line. All right. Hopefully that helps. Did Teresa make it? Yay, Teresa. All right. So, Teresa, since you had requested some shading, I know you were doing animals, but does this look like something you were trying, or were you putting down one color and adding other colors on top? Okay. Scribble. Okay, so maybe I have a feeling that you are a impatient person sometimes, and you want to get it done and get it over with. So you need to take time and fiddle and play with it. I think would be my biggest thing. Is there a pattern under your glass? Yes, this is a paper copy of a pattern under here, where this one that's done is just the glass. But see, this can lay, these don't even go together. This was another pattern, but if they did, okay, then this would be over the top of it. But this is not the one. It just happened to be another pattern that I drew out when I did this particular one. But yes, I have it taped down. You can see the Scotch tape there. I folded it over, and then I have my paper pattern underneath there. Okay. The blue and Teresa's working on the blue and white flowers. Okay, I got to remember you guys can't hear Jenny when she talks to me. Blue and white. I'm trying to remember which one that is. Teresa, sorry. There's so many of them out there. Okay, let's do another one. So I'm going to grab my pink and I'm going to put it up next to this purple. I tell you what, how about, well, I hope I don't mess this up. I'm going to attempt to show the side camera also. Okay, here we go, guys. Let's see if it works. And tell me if it echoes, okay? Okay. All right. Other than it has my side camera flipped, so that may be confusing. All right, I'm going to just do one petal just so you can see the application and how much, see the bubble on the end of my brush. So I'm flooding on quite a large amount, and then I can pull some of this down. I can wipe off that excess before I go to my next color and add it. And this is just a flower that in my head. You can definitely, take some photos and match colors, look at each petal individually, and have a more realistic one if you wanted. So once you've got the color in, so you've got two colors side by side, shimmy. So it's just kind of on that surface. I'm going to wipe some of that off. You can take the tip of the brush and you can tap it to kind of blend it right there at that edge. So what you're doing is making a third color in between those two colors by mixing them. Don't do circles because you don't, no Texas tornadoes. And we were talking earlier, Teresa, hopefully you'll get snow on your side of town. I have huge snowflakes falling. Jenny says, you need to go look outside before we started. And I'm like, nah, it's not here yet. And guess what? It is nickel to quarter size, big old fluffy snowflakes, which is cool. I'm good with that. I'm from Missouri. So my dad's supposed to get 6 to 8 inches. Another friend in Springfield, Missouri, I think they're saying 10 to 12 tonight. So it could be hazardous out there. If you're living in that area, be careful. Well, if you're living here, be careful because a lot of the people here don't know how to drive in it. Jenny and I do because she is from Buffalo and I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. So I just stay off the roads because the other people don't know how to drive. Third color, Teresa says, never blends. So maybe depending on what the third color and how large the area. So my or fourth color here is just a tiny sliver down here. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm still going to pick up a generous amount. I'm going to flood that in where I want that color, the base of it, connect it, and then I'm going to have to turn this just slightly because it's awkward for me to work backwards, but I want to make sure it's still on camera. And then I'm going to just kind of shimmy. I'm going to wipe off the excess. And now I've almost got like a flat brush. Okay, I've flattened it out more so that I can just grab the tiniest little edge. Now, and because your third color or your darkest color doesn't show, I'm adding more. And I'm going to show you how to shade on top of this with concentrates. And I think so between all of that, I'm wiping off the excess, it should help. All right. Once again, if you want to pat it, usually I only pat it when it's on that where you're joining the light and dark. If I want the pink to come down into the dark areas, I'm going to put my brush down up here in the pink and pull down, wipe off the excess, go grab another area, pull down, and I'm being kind of dramatic on it so you can see it. If I wanted the dark to go up, I'm going to grab a little bit of dark on my brush and I'm going to pull it up, wipe, pull it up, wipe. So you could do this, but see there, I didn't wipe it. So I got pink at the bottom. So that's what I'm talking about. You've got to stop and get rid of, and that might be what's happening, Teresa. Maybe you're not wiping in between and making sure that you get the color you want where you want it. I'm going to go back with a little bit of the orchid bloom. Okay, so Teresa's motivated to keep trying. Awesome. All right, so that's how you do. This is 4 colors. You could do it with 2 color blends. You can do it 3. It doesn't matter. Now I'll have to. I said I wasn't going to do that petal because of that leaf, and I did it, didn't I? All right, so I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to work on a leaf over here. And everything's still good with the sound, Jenny, with the side camera on? Okay. All right. I don't want to do anything. All right. So now I'm going to grab key lime, moss, and teal. So I mixed these up an hour, 2 hours ago. I'm going to give it a good stir, kind of check. Oh, you can see the side camera now. Okay. So when you stir it up, and then you're going to dip into it and pull it out quickly. So I'm going to tilt it, dip, 1, 2, 3. So it dripped kind of the 2 to 3. That's what I'm looking for. I'm going to wipe off that palette knife. This is moss. Give it a good stir. Now that's pretty thick. Still thick. I'm going to add 2 drops. Let me see that. Wipe off. Now the other thing that a lot of people will do is they stir it and then drip. You have to wipe that tool off, or you're not going to get a true drip. 1, 2, 3. So a little after 2. So we're good. Hopefully that helps on that. As many videos of yours that I have watched, Britt says, I always learn something new. Thank you for continuing to teach. You're welcome. You know, sometimes it's hearing it a different way. Yeah, maybe I say it a different way. Hopefully I don't, but this one I think is a little thick, so I'm going to add 2 drops. Or maybe just another spin on the same technique that you say, you know what, now I know what she was saying. So sometimes it's just the way I say it or anybody says it. That's why it's good to uh, watch different people, because somebody may say something that clicks and it's like, oh, that's what Paula meant by that. All right, here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that one's a little thicker. I'm going to add 1 more drop. Stir again. Technically, you shouldn't stir and do this over your project because you don't want to spill it on there. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now that drips. Usually, the darker the color, the thicker it's going to be. So just keep that in mind. And remember, I'm using the tapered end of the tool to dip in there, not the flat end. Okay, that won't give you a true test. This one will. All right. And if it's too thin, it just spreads really bad. If it's too thick, when you, like I said, if you put down, let's just do this here. If you put down an area, and I'm going to pull my brush through it, okay? And do you see how that closed up? It's perfect consistency. Okay, so there's another way to check. And this is, and I don't know that I've ever showed it that way. So, Britt, there you go. Another little trick. All right. All right, so let me rinse that off on my brush, and we're going to go to the leaf over here. So what we're doing, I have one on the top. So I've got a little bit, whoops, that doesn't show very good. I got to remember where I'm at. A little bit of teal, some of the greens. So we're going to pull these from the outside in. So the veining on the leaf will be the direction that my colors are going to be. Okay. And let me see if I can adjust that at all. I got light glaring. Okay. If you want a turn back, let me scooch this over. See this turn back here on the overhead? So that is put in solid, let it dry, and then do the rest of the leaf. There's another little trick. Okay. I don't have one over here. So I'm just going to start. And once again, I'm working light to dark. Okay. So I'm going to start. And you can't get in that little tiny tip when you first start. So start in a larger area, push and pull to the point because you'll have less on your brush. See that? You can always come back when it's dry and you can seesaw back and forth with like a toothpick and clean up the edges to make it sharper and nice points if you want. Okay. Tap off the excess or drag off the excess. And then I think I had another color in here. I was trying to remember what colors I used. Okay, so I'm going to grab that one and just set it down there. And remember, the pattern is a guide. If you're too thin, what'll happen is the colors will just merge immediately. And I'm not sure that that's really what you want to do. Okay, and then I'm going to add some teal because I brought out colors that I thought you could see well. They may not really work too good together, but it'll give you the. And what did I forget to do? Can anybody tell me? I forgot to blend that. Nobody caught me. Hey, Rose. Why the turnbacks first? Because if you want the turnback a solid color, then put it on, let it dry while you're working on something else. You could come back to it. It just builds you like a dam there to put your other color up next to. Good question, though. Everybody works differently. So do what's best for you, what feels right. Because my way is not the right or the wrong way, it's just the Paula way. It's the way I've been doing between ceramics and glass most of my life. So I grabbed a little bit of the light color that I put on there, and I'm going to turn the brush on the side, and I'm going to tap and blend. If I want it more of a softer, subtle transition. If I want those lines in there to show striations of the leaf, then I can leave them. And I tend to leave them a lot of times. All right, so now I'm going to tilt my hand so you can see it. I'm going to blend in some of that teal. Just back and forth to kind of get it started. And then I can come in and tap. I'm going to pull some of my product off my brush. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Nothing. You guys are quiet tonight. I'm happy to be back. My life's been a little crazy, so I apologize. It's still crazy, but anyway, it is what it is. All right, so if I want, okay, so now we see, I think you can see this. That ain't gonna help. Hold on. See the colors there on the side camera? I think you can see all the colors together. And let me hold it up to, there we go, on the overhead. Now, watch what happens. If you want to, do you see how these have the veins in it? Okay, we have a question before I do that. Yes. So Teresa's asking if it starts to dry out as you're going back and forth. Don't work under a fan. That would be one thing. And can you add liquid? You could add more product, but the reason it would be drying out is either the light board could be putting too much heat. I like the light board because it dries it a little bit for me. Um, but you could add more product. Oh, you know what you could do, Teresa? I would do I don't do this that often, so you made me think. I would put a couple of drops of medium, the glass medium, in a palette. Make sure I have a clean brush, touch into the medium, and then let me move this over. And then lay the medium on top like that. See how it's re-dampening the area? And then start working with it. But just remember, every time you put any type of liquid on top of there, it's going to loosen it, it's going to move it. So if I touch my brush back down to that, it will literally probably pick up the color that's underneath. But that would be a way to dampen it. I'm starting to rub off. Okay. That's what you're thinking. Okay. All right. Good. All right. So back to this leaf to pull in the veins like I had on the others. So I've got that dark color down at the base. So whatever your base color is and whatever color you wanted for your veins or whatever subject you might be painting, you can, I put some of the teal back on my brush and I'm going to touch down here and I'm just pulling on the top surface. Can you see that? Yes, we have another question. Bridget's asking, did I or would I demonstrate butterflies on ceramics? Bridget, I did some butterflies with ClayShare. And if you're part of the ClayShare group, if you go to my website, and Jenny can probably put a link, Jenny, just type in ClayShare and then go to, just type that in and do that link. What it's going to give you, Bridget, is a page with anything to do with ClayShare. And there's two different ClayShare Con and ClayShare Day, and I believe it was on ClayShare Day. The video is on that page where I demonstrated a butterfly. Okay. And I think I did some carving with it too. So, but I can do more later. I'd be happy. And you guys need to tell me what you want to see next. I know somebody wants to see that bandana glass vase. It looked like a handkerchief with all the colors for Earth colors on it. Okay, let me get back to this before I forget, because if this dries too much, I can't do this. Okay, and I'm trying to see if I can get better light. So I've got the teal on my brush, and now I can very carefully pull in the veins. I wipe my brush off because otherwise I'm going to pick up whatever color I've got on there and pull it this way. That's not a very good one, but you get the idea. And I'm going to just try to lift some of that off. And I'm also going to come back with another color. This is how you correct your mistake, right? Okay, so while the color is wet, but not first wet, this is set here for just a little bit. I'm going to lift it up so you can kind of see the coloring. I don't know if I push that. That's not going to work either. Can you see that? Let me get it over. See, there you can see it. So I'm just dragging that color on the top surface. So if I flip this over, you would not see, I don't know if I can do this without messing up. You can only see the center vein. You can't see the side ones there. All right, I got to turn it before it drips. That was bravery. Ann Parcher, I just love to listen to you. Oh, well, thank you, Ann. I'm like, yeah, because you don't do fired stuff, but thank you. Hopefully there's something that will transfer over. And I am going to have, I know a lot of people have been asking about fabric painting classes. They saw some of the stuff that I did at Christmas time. So I will be scheduling some of those, and those will be Zoom. Okay, Teresa, I want you to see what happened. See that leaf I wet and I touched it, and now it's smeared. So you see the hole in it? Now I'm going to have to make a ladybug there probably, or touch it up. Okay. And I don't have the right color out here to do it, so I'm just going to leave that. But I can reshape the leaf if I wanted to. Okay. Does that help showing you on the side camera, the application? Let me know. I'm going to hide that one now and go back to this one. All right, hopefully you can still see me. Okay. All right, so let's go back to shading. Okay, so I've told you how to shade with the enamels, how to pull in veining and shading. Are you laughing at me? Teresa is aware of how to mess things up. Yeah, well, you know what? That's how we learn. Okay. We've all done it. Trust me. Okay. We have all done it. All right. So let's go into Sumi shading. You need a palette, and I used CC 136 Purple Sage. I don't need that one. Make sure you shake your colors. And yes, this is ceramic color. Okay, this is our 1 ounce size. So it's not really made to go on glass. It doesn't have glass in it. So anywhere that I put this, it's going to have a duller finish or a matte finish. And I don't know, it's in these darker, yeah, the light's not going to show. So what we do is we just sift over it with clear powdered frit to make it glossy like everything else. Okay. But it does leave a little bit of a matte residue um, or finish to it. Okay. So keep that in mind if you're going to use the color concentrates. I have got the small Sumi brush. These are black squirrel hair, natural hair. And I just realized I'm going to have to show you my water. So hold on. I had some other samples out here to show you. All right. So when you're doing the Sumi shading, you're going to water load. So I'm getting my bristles wet. I'm going to drag off the edge, and I'm turning, dragging again, turn, drag. So just constantly turn. That removes the excess, but achieves a point. So now I can go into my color. And hold on, I had a, sure I did. I thought I had a notebook out here I was going to show you on paper, but I don't see it. I could do it on paper towel. I'm going to, with that water load, I'm going to tip into the color. I had a little hair on the end. So very little color on there, just on the very end of it. And I'm going to tuck it where I want it and bounce it to the right and bounce it to the left. Now it's on the paper towel. It's not going to hold and work. So let's do paper. So I'm going to rinse it over here again, drag it off to get to a point multiple times, tip, tuck it in where you want it, sit it down, mush, 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 walk it to the right, walk it to the left. And then you can also kind of bring it back up into that area that you're working. Now, the problem is with the enamels, the moment, as you saw, you touch it with liquid, you have to be deliberate and have a plan and don't go back and fiddle with. This is where you cannot putz around with it at all. Okay? All right, let's see if I can mess this up. Water load, drag off to a point, tip into that purple. If you feel like you keep loading and you have too much water, you can always blot really quick, okay, before you go to your piece. Now, I've got a petal here that I need to add, and technically I wouldn't do this until I've got them all in there, but I'm going to tap it in there and quickly walk back. Okay, so let me turn. That's not going to work, is it? Let's just do this. And you see it's darker down here at the tip, and then I've faded. So I tucked the brush where I wanted it. I wouldn't start here and do it because water's on the other end of your brush. So you want it to flood back or blend back into the water. You want the color on the tip and it fades back into the water out to nothing. So hopefully that makes sense. The ladybug is an interesting idea. Well, you could put a actual glass ladybug on there too. Okay, so that's a option. Did you guys see, is Jameson still on here? Did you see his really cool strawberry thing that he did with Tabitha's Murini? Oh my gosh, I loved it. Okay, there's a petal here. Now, the other thing is, let's do another little cheat. If you can't find your petals after you've done it, you can't, I mean, you guys might not be able to see it here, but there is like where the two colors come together on it. That's why you let one dry, skip and go do another one, because you get that dry area and the color when it's wet will kind of stop at that area. You could come in here. This is those Statler Tri Plus, come on, focus, fine liners that I've used for transferring patterns on ceramics and stuff and on glass. You could come in here and you could make some little dots of where the edge of that petal is. Okay, so let's zoom in a little bit more. All right, we have a question. Okay. Okay, so the question is, can you only work with the enamels when they're still wet? Um, as far as blending, yes. All I'm doing is taking a toothpick and kind of shaping that edge there. You can use them dry. So you can take and you can sift. And I have other videos on sifting through like stencils. That's another way. You could remind me, Jenny, when we're done. I've got another piece of glass. You can put down color and you can sift dry on top of it of another color, like our sparkles. That's a really cool effect. Okay, so see how I dotted? I'm going to get off course if I don't keep going here. See how I dotted between the petals? Now you have to determine which one's on the bottom, which one's on the top to know where you're shading. This one is underneath, and this one is underneath that one. So I'm going to shade here, but I'm also going to shade down at the point, and I'm going to come up, but I'm going to kind of do it like this first, and then I'm going to aim my brush this way. Okay, so let's do this one. Rinse, drag off to a point, tip. If you flooded them on, Britt, and they're dry, they're not, now you could scratch through them, but you're not going to be able to move them if that's what you were asking. Okay, I know that there's a lot of water in my brush. I'm going to blot on the paper towel, grab more color, and that marker is going to bleed. Okay, you're going to have to just get over that and then come up that side, and I'm done. Have a plan, be done with it, get off of there, or it's going to loosen it and you're going to lift it off and you're going to have to repair that whole petal. Okay, so I can come down here and I can work my way back, add a little bit more color. And I started with that color on the outside when I added it there because I didn't want it to be a real harsh. I know I've got enough water in my brush, so I'm just going to grab more color, grab it, and get it done. Now, because the enamel is dry, it does start grabbing, sucking up the moisture that's on my brush. So you got to be really careful, how much time you put down or stay in that area. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Let me get this other one and put a paper towel behind it so you can see. Okay, so I did the same thing on this guy. I shaded, and then you can come back with a liner brush even if you want to pull some fine lines, which is what I did. See on this one here, see it was shaded first, and then there's fine lines of the same color. I shaded a section of the leaves with the same color. It's always nice to have a little bit of your flower color in some of your leaves. It's like the light is reflecting it on them. Okay, does that help? Now, and I don't have any of my centers ready, but what I did here was just add yellow enamel with a liner, and then I came back and I added some CC on top of that also because the color concentrates are stronger. I gotta watch because I'm gonna drag that right through that. So I used the 124 yellow ochre on top of the 122 lemon peel there. And you can see it's kind of thick. See how that's built up? And that's okay. I wouldn't go too much thicker than that. And I'll show you the finished one again so you can see it fired. See? 825. Okay. Okay, good, Teresa. I'm glad that makes sense. So you could come back and you can shade on the leaves. But if you needed, use that marker, okay, and put the dots between. So I could come over here and I could, this one's pretty visible, but I'm just kind of tapping it. I'm not scratching because you'll scratch it off if you do that. I'm just tapping so that I can get a visual. That will fire away, okay? You can see how it started to bleed into, it's kind of a green into that purple. So don't take that for being color, okay? So you need to definitely add your shading. Don't use a purple marker if you're using purples. Greens, same thing. Use something that's a little bit of a contrast, okay? So that you, whoops, wrong direction. I want to go this way. Okay. So this is a large light board. It's great for when you're on, especially on the back of this one where I painted on that ivory glass. If you put a pattern underneath the opal glass, meaning opaque, and you turn your light board all the way up, you can see the pattern through it enough that you can do it. Okay. There are other ways you can transfer, and I've shown that on some other videos. You can go back and watch some of those. All right. Any last questions before we end? Hi, Lori. We're just talking about glass enamels fired in the kiln and blending and shading, how to do those. Someday we'll get you into glass, right? Okay, let me switch back to my overhead, turn on my mic, turn off that mic. Okay, and hide that. All right. Any last questions? If there's something you want to see, like I said, somebody wanted to see that rainbow vase that I did, and I actually have an order for one, so that's perfect. I'll just do it in front of you, but I'll have to have some things done in different stages because it does have the enamels, it's got paste, it's, yeah, a couple of different steps. So, what was the first brush I used? That is the Colors for Earth class brush. And if you just do a search for 455 in the search bar, it'll say CFE class brush. And I believe this is the number 1 or the 0. Okay. And we put it in all the kits if you've bought a kit. And then the small Sumi is the other one. The Sumis, I think, are on sale, if I remember correctly. Jill, I have different patterns, yes, on the website. If you go to the top of the website under education and then go down to technique sheets, I think it's called, you can click on there and there's like downloadable ones. This particular one that I painted tonight, I have not published this packet yet, so there is not one on this. But I do have another video on this particular piece of glass, these purples and pinks together. If you look back, it's a little over 2 years ago because I found it today, looking at it to see if I was going to show something different. So anyway, okay, did you end up capping this? In the original ones, I had 3 layers, okay? The top layer, because it had the shading on it with the concentrates, I sifted the clear powdered, that's what I was going to show is the Morning Glory glass. Okay, hold on. I have that out here. Let me switch back to my overhead. Show. Turn this on. Hide. Okay, hold on. I forgot, Teresa. I remember now. Okay, so she's talking about this one. So same principle. This has got I think 3 to 4 um, colors blended. And then after it's completely dry, I came around and I semi shaded with midnight, I think it was, color concentrate around the edges. So that just shows you. And then I put it on a streaky piece of, I'm 96 COE, so that was a opal art piece behind it to kind of mimic sky and clouds. This was a class that I actually taught across town at Art Glass City about 3 years ago, maybe. Okay, so that's one. Also, want to show you here is another one. This is one that I taught at retreat. It's a white piece of glass, and then the petals, you cut the petals individually and you paint each one. I shaded with color concentrates. I think this is just called Purple Flower Bowl out there. Thank you, Lori. And then you can actually make your own colored frit with the enamels too. And that's what I did here in the middle. So I used some black opal frit, and then I had my clear frit, and I took the 36 purple sage, and then I took the orchid bloom, and you mix it in a cup. I just did one on that. It's on the sunflower centers texture, adding texture. That was just maybe what, a month and a half, 2 months ago. So go look at that one. It shows you how to make your own colored frit. And then I added like a piece of, I don't know if you can see it. It's got another piece of clear glass to help diffuse it on top of there. So there's actually 3 layers on this. You tack it down and then slump it into this organic uh, bowl. All right, so here is, this was just another one I brought out to show you how you could sumi shade. So this has got the paste, and I've shaded down in to the white paste. I've tinted the paste over here on this one with the red, and then this has got a lot of color concentrates with the paste, and it's on white and with the clear on top. You like the bowl? Yeah, and I think I had 2 color combinations in that packet, and most of the packets are on sale. I think I lowered a majority of them to $8.50, as opposed to $12.50. So check those out. PDF downloadables, and here's the one I demonstrated a couple of years ago. Um, this one, I don't remember. I think I only had 2 layers on this, the white and the clear. But you can see how some of it's behind and other parts on top. Okay. All right. I am going to show, let me switch back. I am going to show next week we'll do shading on ceramics. So get your sumi brushes and be ready. So, and it can be done on a plain piece or on a textured piece. Somebody was needing help here uh, a week or so ago, and I kind of taught via instant messenger and was able to, and I thought, okay, we need to go over that again. So we'll do that next week. We'll talk ceramics, and I'll show you how to do. I've got others out there, but I'll come up with something new and show you that. Do you slump that pink square one? The pink, the rectangle one, Lori, is that what you're asking? So yes, you would slump it. So this one that's flat, then you would take and you would slump it into a bowl or a shallow tray. So yes. Okay, good. That answered that. All right, guys. Hopefully this was helpful. And if there's no last minute questions, let's do a quick drawing. Jenny, are you able to do that? Okay. So actually, that works out perfect. I have a Morning Glory packet here, and I did it in blues and purples. So yes, I did too. Okay, so let's give away this packet. If you don't do glass, you can still use the pattern, and I can show you how to convert colors. But Jenny's going to spin, and we'll tell you who wins that. Okay. Thank you, Robin. Bridget. Bridget Nan. I'm looking for the name. Are you going to type it in? Okay, she's going to type it in the comments. So Bridget, if you've never ordered from me and I don't have your mailing address, I can either send you email, digital PDF file, or if you want the hard copy, um, then send me your mailing address and your email for confirmation on the shipment. Okay. So Jenny has typed your name in there, Mantey. So if you're still on, Bridget, you won the packet. It's a $19.50 packet, and I will mail that out to you. Okay, so Teresa says they are not food safe if you don't cap it. The enamels are food safe. The G series, okay. But when you put the color concentrates on top, if you're doing shading, you need to sift over that because they're a matte finish or they could be rough if you apply them too heavy, and therefore bacteria would get in that area and they technically would not be food safe. All right, Bridget, you saw that. Okay, so send me your information, okay, so that I can send that to you. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. You can always message me. You can email me at ceramicsbypaula@gmail.com or colorsforearth@gmail.com also. Okay, guys? All right, I'm going to sign off.